All right, guys, so I finally received my rival Maize bag in the mail today. It comes in 3 different sizes. I got the largest, which is going to be 14 by 20, and it retails for $119. They also offer this in 10 by 15 and 6 by 9. According to the rival website, this fills up to about 55 pounds with filler in it. Now that's completely up to you what you want to use. You can use chickpeas, which is basically like dried garbanzo beans, pinto beans. They even have like synthetic plastic filler bead you can use, but I decided to go with the old school. So I got about 50 pounds of dried corn. This is gonna be Wagner's, and it is 10 pounds in each bag at roughly $13 per bag. So I purchased this on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description box. So I got 50 pounds of that. The bag is gonna be, they're synthetic leather, they're microfiber, and the bag itself has a good amount of padding to it as well. You can see it has a zippered opening up top, and you can actually see the foam padding that lines the inside together with the stitching. Then it also comes with this vinyl bag that has a drawstring up top, and this is what you're going to use to drop down inside of the actual bag itself and then fill this up with corn. So this actually acts as a liner. So I'm going to go ahead and get this process started. You guys can follow along with me, and then we'll test it out. All right, so I used 4 bags. That's 40 pounds of the dried corn, and you can see it actually filled it all the way to the top. So I have an extra bag. I don't know, I'll probably use that for another project around the house, or maybe just return it. But that is 40 pounds of that Wagner cracked corn that's in there. Every time I would fill each, or put a bag in here, I would basically just kind of shake the bag. That way I made sure that the corn at the bottom kind of settled down. And now I can just take this drawstring, tie it off, and roll everything up nicely on the inside, zipper the top of the bag, and I should be good to go. And plus, if I have that extra bag, so if there is some settling, I can add more corn if I need to, but for now it looks like it's pretty much full to the top. So we'll go ahead and zipper everything up and see how the bag feels. All right, guys, so it's been a few days. I finally got a chance to hang up the Maize bag. Just a quick disclaimer, this is not going to be the full review, as I literally just got finished hanging this bag up, and this will be my first time punching the bag. So I'll describe to you how the bag feels for the first time. From a sizing standpoint, I'll use myself as a reference point. I'm 5'8", about 150 pounds. So you can kind of see how the bag looks in terms of sizing compared to me. This is going to be the largest Maize bag that Rival offers. They're 14 by 20. I filled it with about 40 pounds of dried corn. The filler that you use is completely up to you. On the Rival website, it does say you can use dried garbanzo beans or dried chickpeas, which is garbanzo beans. You can use pinto beans. I've seen people use synthetic plastic beads. There's all types of different fillers you can use. I ended up going with dried corn because that's kind of the old school traditional way. Corn in Spanish is actually maize, and that's where the word came from for Maize bag. It's actually a maize bag. And back in the day, they would fill up these old burlap bags or burlap sacks with corn, and that's what they would use for their punching bags. So I have this, again, about 40 pounds plus or minus. To me, this is a perfect hybrid bag, and it's kind of like a combination between a slip bag and a teardrop punching bag. You have the weight of more of a traditional punching bag, but you have the mobility of a slip bag. So you can essentially hit this with all your punches, whether it's straight punches, your hooks, your uppercuts, your overhand punches. You can hit it with all that, but you also have the ability to work on your head movement because it has that mobility. It's heavy enough, but it's light enough. So it's kind of like that perfect weight. You can work on your head movement, you're slipping, you can catch, you can use your shoulder roll, you can block, and it's heavy enough to where it hits you. It reminds you to keep up with your defense. You can obviously work on your defense, your footwork, your head movement, getting underneath the bag. You're slipping, getting out of the way, pivoting. So you can pretty much work everything with this bag. I have mine pretty much right at nose level on the middle of the bag. You know, as far as height goes, that's completely up to you. To me, this is the perfect height because it forces me, if the bag is coming towards me, to really get underneath it and not get lazy with using my knees and bending at the knees and bending at the waist. So it forces me to work that and engage my core and my lower part of my body, my legs. So I do keep it at that level. And it's obviously the perfect height for my punches as well. You don't want to go too high. You also don't want to go too low. To me, that's really the perfect height. Aside from the filler, it does have these foam pads on each panel. So you can see it's stitched in between each panel. And each panel, like I showed you guys earlier in the video, actually has a nice thick piece of foam. So when you punch it, you're not punching directly into whatever you use to fill the bag. You're actually punching into the foam, and then the filler's on the inside. The corn on here feels really good. It has a nice, soft, forgiving feel to it, and it has a nice sinking in feel to where when you land a punch, it absorbs the energy of your punch, and it doesn't swing too much. It doesn't seem. See, it doesn't have a bounce to it. It just kind of absorbs the shock. Kind of reminds me of an aqua bag without the bounciness of an aqua bag, if that makes sense. So for those of you that have used a like a buoy, aqua buoy bag or an aqua bag, you know that when you punch it, your punch kind of sinks in. But at the very last second, it has a little bit of a bounce to it, almost like a little bit of a deflection. That does not exist with this bag. To me, it feels like this bag, when you punch it, it sinks in and your fist just kind of stops in there. And you can actually see it almost like leaves an imprint because the filler, which is corn, kind of takes shape of your hand and your fist when you're punching it. So it just kind of absorbs and it takes it in. And what I like about that, the bag doesn't go swinging too much. It's almost like you could throw combinations and hit this with heavy shots and not have to worry about the bag just swinging all over the place. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit it a couple times, kind of get a feel. Yeah, man, it feels good. And I'm using this with my bare hands, and I have no discomfort when I punch it. It feels really good. And you can see, I'm just trying to show you guys right there, front and center. It absorbs my shot. And there's no hard spots either. So with that corn filling, it's consistent. So I mean, you can literally hit the bottom, and it feels exactly the same as hitting it right here. Because the corn filler is all pressed in, but it's consistent throughout. You don't have to worry about any type of like settling in that regard. Yeah, I mean, you can see, throw it with good power, and it takes a shot. And then obviously for head movement, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just work your way around the bag. Work on your defense, parrying, hooks, getting underneath it. A little bit blocking. Work on the counter punching. Yeah, feels really good. So definitely excited to use this Maize bag. I think it feels amazing to punch. Again, for those of you that are wondering how it feels, I feel like it almost feels like a more comfortable aqua bag, if that makes sense, in terms of how it feels when you land a punch into it. It just sinks right in, and your hand just kind of stays right there and leaves that impression. And it doesn't feel like sand. It doesn't feel too dense. It doesn't feel like you're hitting a brick wall. It feels really good when you hit it, when you land. But again, that's with that corn filling. I'll put the link to the Amazon link I used for the corn. I bought 50 pounds or 5 bags total. I ended up using only 4. I'll just use the 5th bag as a spare. But after tax and shipping and all that, it was about $60 for 50 pounds of dried corn, which is not bad. So I mean, the bag was $119. Then you include the filler, which is the corn. So about $120 plus you know, another what, 60. So you're looking at $180 total for a filled maize bag like the one that you see here. You know, plus or minus, just depending on what you go with. But so far it looks really good and it feels great. Can't wait to use this thing. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them down below in the comments box. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find this Rival Maize bag. I'll see you guys later. Take care.